Vishud Kala Kadosh, everybody welcome. Shebarachat Tzlacha le'am Yisrael. Yaakov ben Asher, Kiriu ben Daniel, Refuah Shlema, Parnasat Torah, Nisim Shalom ben Bechor Baris, שהקדוש ברוך הוא תשלח לו זיווג הגון בשנה הזה בעזרת השם יתברך, before the Purim, we could see the good news בעזרת השם. And אלף הבדלות בין המתים לחיים, לעילוי נשמת רום הרחמים בן מזל הלוי. We continue with our Pirkei Avot. So, Pirkei Avot, we said, we started with chapter 4, Mishnah Hey. כל הנהנה מדברי תורה נוטל חייו מן העולם. Somebody have a pleasure from the Torah. He says his life will be taken away before his time. What does it mean? How can you have a pleasure? Pleasure meaning by learning, or pleasure which just means you're using the Torah for your own benefit. So the Chazal says if we're using the Torah for our own benefit, that's where the person gets chas v'shalom, a short life. סיפור המגיד הקדוש, רבי ישראל מקוזניץ. רבי ישראל מקוזניץ, שהייתה לילד, הייתה יוצא בלילה חנוכה מן הבית אל בית המדרש לחזור ללימודו. Rabbi Israel Mekuzniz, he used to, on the day of the night of the Chanukah, he went from his house to the Bet HaMidrash to study home. Lachzor al limudo, the way he studied, usual, the business as usual. V'ani haya chashud bi she'ani yotze l'sachek im chavarai. V'avi, his father was having suspect on him that he went outside to play with his friends. Miyad she'achar shiur adlek ner hadolek b'bet HaMidrash. So the candle was lit inside the Bet HaMidrash. Pam dolek nor kol halayla, v'ani yashavti limudi le'oro. So the light, back then they had the lights that we have today. They had a candle light. The candle was lit all night long. Lifnot boker miyad safakti makot ne'emanut ma'aviv. He says, early in the morning, when I came from the shul for the Bet HaMidrash, my father started hitting me. Al kach hashad she'sachakti im yeladim kol halayla. He thought I was playing with the kids all night, as a child. Elo hayti omer she'yashavti lomer hayu ma'amin li. He says, if I would tell him I was learning all night in Ben HaMidrash, he says he will believe me. Ki yadai she'enon mishaker. He knows I'm not lying. I don't lie. Aval idafti lekabel makot me'ashar le'onot. He says, I'd rather accept the hit from my father than have pleasure from the Torah. Sha'arei emru chachamim kol hanehane midvrei Torah notel chayav min ha'olam. It says, somebody have a pleasure from divrei Torah, he would have chas v'shalom, his life would be shortened. So he says, I'd rather be beating, than to have pleasure from the Torah. And we continue as the subject. Gemara Masechet Sotah says in page 5, Amar Rabbi Chiya bar Ashi, Amar Rav, Talmid Chacham tzarich sheyeh bo midot haga'ava. Masechet Sotah says, Talmid Chacham needs to have a gaiva, hofti, right, pride. Echad mishmona b'shminit. What does it mean? One of the 8 of the 8. Amar Rav Huna b'riv de Rav Yoshua me'ataro shel sasa. Gasod ruach moadna v'hogenet litalmidei chacham me'atara ki sasa me'ateret et shibolet. Rashi says, like the grain, he has on top of the grain, he has a stalk that is a crown. Same thing is for the Talmid Chacham, it has to be crowned. Amar Rava shema'ata deyebe she'im en bo min gava klal en bnei ayir ro'im mimenu. If a person does not have a little bit of gaiva on him, Talmid Chacham, the city would not be afraid. The people would not be afraid of him. Afraid of what? When he speaks, people will listen. Ve'en bo koach lo chicham. Rashi says, he has no power or strength to rebuke them. Who? These people that are in the city. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, lo mina v'lo miktzata. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, gava, not a little bit, not a lot. Ki zutar mai dechtiv To'avat Hashem kol gava lev. He says, whoever is abundance, abomination to Hashem, whoever have hofty of his heart. Rambam perek bet alachot deot alacha gimel katav kvar omru bashmata. Afila miktzata ve'in bagahot me'yeminot sham. So Rambam psak like this also, alacha, the Talmid Chacham should not have a gaiva. What does it mean? So a person cannot rebuke a person. Right away we say gava. Psak Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak lo mina velo miktzata. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says not little bit, not a lot, and not a little bit. Dichtiv toavat Hashem kol gava lev. Somebody have a gava, is the abundance in front of Hashem. De'oka Rav Yichia bar Ashiv Rava. Fize nemar gal Rabbi Tzadok kan, sheomar kol hanehane midivrei Torah notel chayav min haolam. Somebody have a pleasure and enjoyment from divrei Torah, like we said it case before, his life will be shortened. Svira le de masekta de dina, afilu shmini bashminit asur. Even the little bit gava is asur. Mishun dechtiv tohavat Hashem ki gava lev. Da'ainu afilu dolhu. That's what it says. Masechet Baba Matra. Masechet Baba Matra in page 8 it says following. Rabbeinu HaKadosh patach otzra b'sheni b'tzoret. Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, it was a time of a hunger, famine. V'amar yichasu ba'alei mikra. He says, whoever knows Chumash, please enter, get whatever you need to get. Ba'alei Mishnah, whoever knows Mishnah, come in. Ba'alei Talmud, whoever knows Talmud, okay, come in, you go have a food. Ba'alei Alecha v'Agada, whoever knows Alacha, Agada, stories, please, come in and get the food. Aval ama aretz lo yikansu. He says somebody is not learner, should not enter. Dachak Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram v'ikanes. Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram, he pushed everybody and then enter. V'amar lo, and he says, Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram, he says, Rebbe parnaseni. Rebbe, my dear Rabbi, please give me parnasa. Amar lo kriyad, amar lo. He says, do you know how to read? He says, no. Rebbe HaKadosh is asking Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram, do you know how to read? He says, no. Amar lo. Imken bama parnasecha. He says, what can I give you food, substance for? Amar lo parnasani kekelev ve'orev. He says, give me food like to the dog and to the crow. Shenemar natan lebehema lachma gematria kelev. Like it says, you should give bread to the animal. Okay? Animal gematria is kelev. Kelev, which means dog. Numerical value. B'vnei arov asher ikra'u. B'vnei orev. You know a crow, when he gives a birth to his kids, they're born white, and he hates them, so he does not give them food. So who gives them the substance? The Hashem. So he says, Parnaseni kekerev, kekelev, keorev. Give me a food like a kelev, like a dog, or like a orev. Asher ikra'u. B'masechet Ktuvot pirnes oto. Masechet Ktuvot says, page 69, Amud Bet, he gave him the food. לאחר שיצא ישב רבי הקדוש מצטער. Once Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram came out from Rabbi HaKadosh, Rabbi was very in pain and suffering. Why did he give a food? Oli shenatati peti le'am haaretz. He says, Oy, that I gave a bread to not learner. Amar lefonav Rabbi Shimon b'Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon, the son of the Rabbi, says, Shema Yonatan ben Amram talmidecha hu. He says, maybe Yonatan ben Amram, he's your Talmud, he's your student. He never wanted to have enjoyment from the Torah that he knows. But Kumatzuken, they went, Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram, he's a Talmid Chacham. Lachar mekan Rabbi HaKadosh yikansu hakol. Then afterwards Rabbi HaKadosh says, everybody enter. Hine Rambam b'pirush arich archiv meod. Rambam, in this pirush of this Mishnah, he very prolongs and says, She'en raui lechachamim kebel mamenu mamon mibnei adam al Talmud Torah v'oratav. Says Talmid Chacham, Rambam says, should not take money from people or for whatever the law that he makes, Talmid Chacham. ככב, כל המשים את ליבו שעוסק בתורה לא עושה מלאכה והתפרנס מן הצדקה, הרי זה חילול השם. Rambam says somebody goes, we love this Rambam, somebody goes and asks tzedakah and he wanted to learn Torah and other people are supposed to support him. According to the Rambam, it's considered chilul Hashem, desecrating God's name. Bizay et Torah, he disrespecting the Torah. Kiva me'or hada'ad, the light of the Torah, he distinguished. Notel chayav min haolam, he be short and cut in his life. Maran kesef mishen heyarich le'yoshev minhag she'en chosheshim lidvarav. Maran Bet Yosef says, we have no problem with the Rambam. Why? Ravia Masha Amru Bacholin, Masech Chulin, he says in page 134, Shakda di dinare atele bet midrasha. They used to enter the Bet HaMidrash, they used to give money. Kadam Rabbi Ami v'zakeh be v'zakeh avid hacheh ketich. Natan LaKohen v'lo sheitol me'atzmo. The way the Kohen accept the matanot kehuna, which means the presence of the kehuna, same thing is Talmid Chacham. Adam Hashuv Shani. Somebody is an important man, somebody important Talmid Chacham. Klomar Rosh Yeshiva Shani. Rosh Yeshiva, somebody Rosh Yeshiva, he could accept money without problem. V'tanya the Kohen Gadol me'achiv. They say the Kohen Gadol, how he become Kohen Gadol? He learned so much Torah. Then afterwards, Kohen Gadol, his brothers make him rich. Gadlu meshel achiv, his brothers make him rich. V'chen matzinu b'masotah. Masechet Sotah in page 21 says, Shi Rabbi Yochanan haya nasi v'farnaso. Rabbi Yochanan was the nasi president, and he used to get money, a paycheck. Masech Pesachim, it says in page 53, Tudus ish romi haya matil malek kis litalmidei chachamim. Tudus was a rich guy. He used to give to talmidei chachamim a lot of money. Shekol matil malek kis litalmidei chachamim. Somebody gives money to the Talmid Chacham. What's the reward for him? Zoche ve'yoshev be'yeshiva shel mala. He was able to sit in the upper chambers in yeshiva in a higher worlds. A person that gives Talmidei Chachamim money. Shenemar batzel chokhmah batzel kesef. In the shadow of the wisdom, the shadow of the money. V'sayem ki rayinu shekol chachmei Yisrael kodem zman Rabbeinu ve'acharav hayu nohagim litos charam min hatzibur. He says, we see from Rabbeinu HaKadosh and further and before, Chachamim used to take money. Mishum ed la'asod la'Hashem hefiru toratecha. There's a ed la'Hashem, ed la'asod la'Hashem. There's a time where we're going to take and we're going to make what needs to be done. She'elu lo הייתה פרנס תלמידי ותלמידים מצויים, לא היו יכולים לקדש עצמם לתורה. If somebody is not sponsoring Talmid Chacham, how are they able to sanctifying their time for the Torah and mitzvot? Torah at least. Torah karaui. Chas v'shalom k'ovdim b'li Torah. He says, God forbid, the Torah will be nothing. Ve'en lecha tzorech tzibur gadol mizeh. He says, why we need to pay to the Talmid Chacham? Because the congregation needs Talmidei Chachamim. If there's no Talmidei Chachamim in a congregation, what happens with the people? People, chas v'shalom, assimilating, doing all the transgressions, and everything they do, they justify. We need to have a rabbi, a moreh tzedek, which means somebody is able, knowledgeable to teach the halachas. He says once he passes away, he needs to fill his disciples to have more students, to fulfill his place. When he goes to this further in the world to come. ועריך ליישב מנהג בזה, והביאה כמה ראיות לתלמידיו להתיר, כמו שאמרו בברכות. מסכת ברכות says in page 10. רוצה לענות, יענה כאלישע. He says you need to have a pleasure like Elisha. בכתובות in page 105b says, כל המביא הדורון לתלמיד חכם כאילו מקריב ביקורים. Somebody brings present to the Talmid Chacham, it's like bringing the first fruits to the Bet HaMikdash. Baba Metzia, page Dalet. Masechet Baba Metzia says in page Dalet, page 84, following. באותו מלאכמים שעובדים בספינה, עומד עליהם נכשל ים, טבע ונדע נדר להשם אבי רבי אלעזר ברבי שמעון שישה ארנקים של זהב. Sailors, right? Sailors. They went by sailor. And they're about to drown. And they say, Hashem, if you're going to save us, we're going to give to the Rabbi Shimon, the Rabbi Elazar, we're going to give him 60 wallets of gold to Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon. ועריך הרשב"ץ סיפרו גאון, מגן אבות ליישב מנהג. And Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon, when they got saved from the not to drown in the sea, they gave to the Rabbi Shimon, the Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon, 60 so-called wallets of gold to Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon. So from here we see the Tanaim took money in order for them to learn the Torah. מצאנו הרבה חכמים שהיו חוטאי עצים ושוהים מים לפרנסתם. He says, we also see a lot of, back then, the Chachamim used to do חוטבי עצים. They used to chop woods. They used to sell water. They were in the business of selling water. Now if you sell water in the United States of America, you become billionaire. You have a yellow gold, you have a black gold, which is oil, and you have a white gold, which is water. In America, you cannot drink from faucet, right? Most of us don't even drink. What we do, we go buy water. So, it says many Chachamim used to sell water. Many Chachamim used to chop woods. The reason they did it in a Chassidut way. Chassidut, which just means they didn't want to have any pleasure from the congregation. Before they became Rosh Yeshiva. But it's not a person allowed to get money from the congregation. That's why you have a rabbi, local rabbi, or you have community rabbi, or you have a shchuna rabbi that is for souls, that he's able to take the money from the people and he able to learn and to teach them. They would not rely on themselves to have a parnasa from somewhere else. They became גדולי הדור, many החכמים. ואמרו לנו, ישר ויושר, כן היינו יתר זה נוהג גם אצל הגדולים אשר לפנינו חסידים ואשר מעשה גאון רבנו גדולי העולם קדושים אשר בארץ המה. Says all the גדולים back in the past generation, in our generation, they'll all take a salary in order for them to sustain the Torah. בספר אגודת אליהו בחיי ירושלמי כתב בזמן רבותינו חכמי תלמוד כל אנשי דור היו רואים וחרדים במורה של כבוד כל תלמידי חכמים בעלי תורה. He says in the time of the Talmud, when they used to see the Amoraim and Tanaim, they used to have a tremble from them. אפילו חוטבי עצים. He says even there were wood choppers selling water, מים לא נפלו מכבודם בעיני המון העם. People used to respect them in the time of the Amoraim and Tanaim. כי כל העדה כולם קדושים, because people knew the value and the essence of the תלמידי חכמים. מעריצים מקדישים את לימודי בתורה בדורם. Says they used to sanctify the time in the Torah. אבל בזמן הזה יהיו תלמידי חכמים עוסקים בהלכתם. What if תלמיד חכם right now doing job or work, performing? אלו כיצאו והן לפרנסם, יהיו בוזויים חס ושלום. So somebody goes do parnasa for their own sake, for the support the family, they become disrespected in the eyes of the nation. What if you're going to rebuke them and tell them you're not allowed to do A, B, C, D? They're not going to even listen to them. כי חוכמת המסכן בזויה, חוכמה, he says this מסכן, which just means bednik, like he's so poor, but he's not poor in the money because he goes to work. His chokhmat, his knowledge gets disrespected. Hayukaz kekohen. Lechen adraba mitzvah kavde talmidei chamim keblei matanot. Says mitzvah to give to the talmidei chamon money to the talmidei chamim. Kidei leabesh bigdei hamudot. They need to dress properly and beautiful. What's bnei beitam v'natna lahem kavod karavui. When they have in a house, make sure the household also is going to be having everything accordingly. And people start respecting them and who they are, what they are. Somebody is going in the path of Hashem, they should listen what we say right now. Page 52. There was a guy, Amram, he was a apotropos, which just means he was taking care of the orphans. He used to take the money, he used to spend, and he used to give them beautiful clothes. Why is that? So people used to come in and used to say, look what not kind of poor they are. They're able to afford and they're able to put themselves in the clothes. So when they speak, they were able to accept the words of them. So the outer appearance, or the clothing, or the beautiful shoes, or the beautiful everything, people look at their appearance. By their appearance, they're able to judge. Many times I saw people say, oh, you saw this rabbi, he has a Patek Philippe watch, he has a big cufflinks. They're not looking at the rabbi, they're looking what kind of private jet he has, and what kind of Patek Philippe he has, and what kind of big cufflinks they have. Okay, once you look at that, that's it, he's a big rabbi. But if somebody wearing a Seiko watch that come from the Bukhara, he's going to say, look at it, it's nothing. Right? So we tend to judge by what? Book by its cover. So a person, he says over here, Chacham Avadia, we should support Talmidei Chachamim. And we should give. So people will have respect. So they will listen. They will rebuke. Person comes in a Toyota Camry. I'm not disrespecting anybody. That is 1990. A Rav comes in with a private driver and a beautiful car. What's going to happen? Maybe he has something. Maybe we should listen to him. Yeah. Somebody Toyota Camry, it's okay. That's the way it is. So that's the way our set of mind is. So the Chazal says, must support and must give bakavod, in respect way. So like this, people would be able to listen. Continue. Mishnah Vav. Rabbi Yossi Omer kol mechabed Torah gufo mechabed al habriyot. Somebody, Rabbi Yossi says, whoever respects the Torah, his flesh or his body will respect him, and people will respect him. Kol mechalel et Torah gufo mechalel habriyot. Somebody disrespecting the Torah. We're going to understand what it means, disrespecting the Torah. Rabbi Yossi mibnei Yudadav ben Rachav. Haya Stam Rabbi Yossi. Who was Rabbi Yossi? Ben Chalafta. Some says Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta. Vaya chamishet tanaim Rabbi Akiva basof yamav. Like it says in Masechet Shabbat in 115, Rabbi Akiva had 5 students in the end of his life, because 24 passed away. V'samchas v'samkam Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava. Amru Chazar Rabbi Yossi nimuko imo. Halacha everywhere it says in the Gemara, halacha it's like Rabbi Yossi. Lachen halacha komod b'chol makom v'cholkim echad mechaverav. Even there's a machloket ben hachachamim, like we say. Kadamira b'Yeruvin, page 46, Amud Bet. Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbi Yossi halacha k'Rabbi Yossi. Halacha, if there's a machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, halacha k'Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Meir v'Rabbi Yossi halacha k'Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Meir v'Rabbi Yossi halacha k'Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Shimon v'Rabbi Yossi halacha k'Rabbi Yossi. There's a machloket Rabbi Yossi v'Rabbi Shimon halacha k'Rabbi Yossi. Afilu cholek al Rabbi mechaverav. What if there's a lot of chachamim does not agree to like Rabbi Yossi? Yesh omrim halacha k'Rabbi Yossi. Chazal says k'Rabbi Yossi. Nirei Rambam gores halacha k'Rabbi Yossi mechaverav. Halacha Rambam, that's the way nifsak. Okay, in Masechet Eruvin, page 46, halacha like Rabbi Yossi. V'sen harosh, aval harosh, aliba deriv kadem en halacha k'Rabbi Yossi mechaverav. Rosh v'Riv says, Rambam, machlokit between the Rambam, Rosh and Riv. Rosh and Riv says, halacha not k'Rabbi Yossi. Not like. And, B'Sefer, Rabbi Yossi haya rabo shel Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Rabbi Yossi was the teacher of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. Masechet Nidayim, page 14. כתוב תוספות, מתחילה היה רבי יוסי גדול מרבי. תוספות says Masechet Nida, Rabbi Yossi was great than Rabbi HaKadosh in the beginning of learning. ואחר כך ניחם רבי מחמת תלמידיו ולימוד. Afterwards, Rabbi HaKadosh became so giant, and he learned from his students, because the students are sharpening him. וכן תוספת השבת, in Masechet Shabbat in page 51, ירושלמי גיטין פרק ה' הלכה ז'. רבי היה מבקש להקשות דברי רבי יוסי, היה אומר, אני העלובים באים להשיב על דברי רבי יוסי, כשם שבין הקודש קודשין לבין החול לחולין. Rabbi HaKadosh says, Rabbi Yossi was קודש קודשין. Okay? ואין בין דורנו לדור של רבי יוסי, רבי ישמעאל בנו רבי יוסי היה אומר. Rabbi Ishmael was the son of Rabbi Yossi. שבין הזרען לעפר כך בין זורנו לדור של האבא. He says, our generation and a future generation, it says it's like a sand compared to the gold.
So Rabbi Ishmael is the guy who went to Shaman?
Yes. So he says, over here, Rabbi Yossi, the generation, he says Rabbi Ishmael, My father's generation is a gold, our generation is a sand.
Rabbi Yossi is buried in Tiberia?
Yes. Masechet Barachot, it says, Shenu Baboraita, Masechet Barachot in page 3. אמר רבי יוסי, פעם אחת הייתי מהלך בדרך, נכנסתי להתעבר בחורבה אחד מחורבות ירושלים. Rabbi Yossi says I was in a way, I entered one of the ruins of the Yerushalayim, which is broken house. להתעלר בחורבה אחד, בו אליהו זכור לטוב. Eliyahu Hanavi goes inside the ruin of the house, which is broken house. והמתין לו ליד הפתח. Eliyahu Hanavi was waiting by the doorstep. עד סיימתי תפילתי, until he was finished davening, Rabbi Yossi. לאחר סיימתי תפילתי, אמר שלום עליך רבי. After I finished my davening, I said to Eliyahu Hanavi, he's greeted with the Shalom Aleichem Rebbe. אמרתי לו, שלום עליך רבי מורי. I said, Rabbi Eliyahu Hanavi says, Shalom Aleichem to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, Shalom Aleichem Mori v'Rabbi, my teacher, okay, and Rabbi. אמר לו, מפני מה נכנס לתפילה לחורבה? Says, why did you enter to the ruins? Okay. היה על מתפלל בדרך, you should pray on a way, in a road. אמרתי לו, המתירי יפסקני עוברי דרכים. Maybe there's a people who pass by would stop me on a way. אמר לי, היה לך להתפלל תפילה קצרה. You should pray short prayer. אמר לו, אליהו, בני, מה כל שמעת בחורבה זו? He says, Eliyahu Hanavi, what kind of voice did you heard that you entered the rooms? אמרתי לו, שמעתי בת קול, מדמנה כיונה. Says, I heard the heavenly voice is begging like a dove. אמרתי, אוי לי שחרבתי את ביתי. Hashem says, oi, that I destroyed my house. ושרפתי את היכלי. I burned the היכל. והגילתי את בני לבין האומות. I exiled the Jewish, my sons, between the other nations. אמר לי, בני, חייך לא שעה זו בלבד, אמרתי כך. He says, not only this hour that you heard, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu speaks like this, אלא בכל ויום אמר כך 3 פעמים. Every day Hashem says this 3 times. Then you're going to say to yourself a question. How do you feel that Hashem speaking 3 times, Bat Kol Yotzeh, the heavenly voice? The fact that you have a thinking and you have a chustvo, feeling, that's called the heavenly voice is speaking to you. So you want to get up and to say, Tikkun Chatzot, this is the heavenly voice talking to you. You get it? בכל יום ויום אמרתי כך 3 פעמים ולא עת שבשעה שישראל נכנסים בית הכנסת. Says when a Jewish people, Eden, enters the בית הכנסת, בית המדרש, אמן יש מרבה. עונים אמן יש מרבה, they say אמן יש מרבה. מבורך, הקדוש ברוך הוא מנענע ראשו ואומר, הקדוש ברוך הוא shakes his head. אמר, אשרי מי שהמלך מקלסים אותו כך. He says, praiseworthy is that king, that the praiseworthy the king. מה לו אב שגלה את בניו. He says, I'm a father that I exile my kids. אוי להם לבנים שגלו מעל שולחן שעל אביהם. אוי to the kids that they got thrown out from the father's table. בנסנהדרין it says following in page 113. דרש רבי יוסי בציפורי. Rabbi Yossi was living in Tzipori. אדונני אליהו הנביא קפדן היה. Eliyahu Hanavi was very strict. שנשבע חי השם אשר עמדתי לפני אם יהיה טל ומטר כי אם לפני דבריי. He says, Eliyahu Hanavi says there was no rain. He says, I say in Hashem name should bring the dew to this earth. היה אליהו רגיל לבוא אצלו. Eliyahu Hanavi used to come all the time to Rabbi Yossi. נעדר ממנו לא בא 3 ימים. Eliyahu Hanavi did not come for 3 days. בסוף שבא, at the end, after 3 days he came, Eliyahu Hanavi. אמר לו רבי יוסי, מפני לא בא מר. Rabbi Yossi is asking Eliyahu Hanavi, why didn't you come for 3 days? אמר לו, קפדן אתה קורא לי. Says, you calling me a stricker. Strict. הרי מכאן היה שקפדן מרי עליי. Says, you called me strict. Because I was strict, that's why I didn't come 3 days. From here, many times Chazal learned the action of the person would push away Eliyahu Hanavi from the person. Whether he gets angry, whether he looks the stuff that's not supposed to be looked, whether he used the words not supposed to be used, Eliyahu Hanavi cannot be available for him. We see from the Rabbi Yossi, he just called him a strict, kabdan. He's very meticulous about something. He did not come. So from here we see Chazal, that the person has to, if he wants to meet Eliyahu Hanavi, he has to be careful how he speak, what he's watch, what he's looking. It's very important. So we have two Eliyahu that comes to the shul, or Eliyahu Hanavi that comes to the person where he needs to meet him. Somebody is respecting the Torah. What does this mean, respecting Torah? פירוש רש"י מכבד תורה שאינו מהר ספרי קודש על ספסל יושבים בו בני אדם. So it says Rashi following, when we want to go to the parks, or we want to go to airport, we take a book, we put a book where people sitting. He says that's supposed to be not be done. That's what he says. Somebody is respecting Torah, they're going to respect him. Even such a little thing, put the book on the people where he sits, ספסל, בבנץ'. Okay? ושאינו מניחים ספרי קודש על ספסל ויושבים בני אדם. שלא מניח תורה על גבי תורה, כשמה שאמרו גמרא מגילה. Says, what does it mean also? Do not put Torah one on top of another. But he says in Masechet Megillah, in page 27, עמוד ב', מניח ספר תורה על גבי ספר תורה. You're allowed to put ספר תורה on top of the ספר תורה. Then Psak Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says in Yoreh Daya in Siman 282, Siv 19, Halacha 19. Rambam Piresh Mechabed Chachamim. Rambam says, Kol Mechabed et Torah. Respecting the Torah, Rashi says, do not put book on top of the book. Or Sefer Torah on top of Sefer Torah. Not only that, do not put a books on the benches or on a sitting where people sitting. Rambam says another interpretation. Mechabed hachachamim ma'amedim et Torah. Whoever is respecting the chachamim, how we're able to respect the chachamim, put the chachamim in the feet by supporting them. What does it mean? V'chen amru b'shvuot, Masechet Shvuot in page 30. Aseh kavod Torah adiv. He says, do the kavod for the Torah is greater. לבגי כבד תלמידי חכמים, כהם מכבד את ספרי קודש, בכל זה שכוון בריחה, בבריחה נאה את הספרי קודש, והן כתב ספר תורה בקולמוס נאה. Chazal says you need to bookbind it, make sure you do it beautiful bookbind it. If you're going to write a Sefer Torah, make sure you write with a beautiful kulmus, a reed. והן כורכים בשירים נאים, כמו שאמרו מסכת שבת. מסכת שבת says over there, in page 133, זה אליו ענווהו. A person should have tefillin naeh, tzitzit naeh, lulav beautiful, tzitzit, sukkah, everything, Sefer Torah, everything has to be beauty. It's a mitzvah aseh to have beautiful. You're going to say, what's the difference? I like this, everything is the same. No. The Chazal says, we have to have everything is beautiful. By we beautiful, what we're doing? We're sanctifying Hashem's name. Mishtaldel lilmudo. A person should have always to learn to others. A person able to learn Torah does not learn Torah, is disrespecting the words of Hashem. That's what it says in Sanhedrin in page 99. Somebody also learning Torah, very careful in the summertime. We see garbage is outside, we should not say Torah, Divrei Torah. It smells. The Chazal says very careful. If you speak in Divrei Torah in a dirty places like I just mentioned, or smelly places, he's disrespecting God's words. He's disrespecting the Torah. Mishle says in Aleph Zayin 1:7, Chokhmah u'masar ivilim bazu. He says, Chokhmah, the wisdom, and Musar, ethics, the blind people disrespect it. What does it mean respecting the Torah? Respecting the Torah, whoever learns the Torah. And whoever speaks good about Talmidei Chachamim, you know he's a tzaddik. What if a person does opposite, speaks bad about the person, לפיכך הוא מצדיק את המעשה רשעים. He talks about the רשעים properly, a wicked people. בידוע שיש בו שמץ רשעות, שאין ספק שבזה יכולים להבחין בין לבבות בני אדם. He says the way you only know what a person is capable and what is in his heart is only one way, the way he speaks. He speaks all the time negative, that means in his heart is negativity. Look what it says, Rav Nisim, and over here in Mishle. Mishle 27:21 says, "Mitzarev kesef v'kor lezahav v'ish lefi mehalalo." He says, you take the silver, you polish it, it becomes so shiny. Same thing he says, you take the gold, you take it, it becomes so shiny. He says, same thing in a person's heart. According to what is he speak and how does he speak, that's how you would know what the person is. You're going to say, no, that's not the way I thought, that's not the way I'm thinking. He says, the way he's thinking, the way he's all the time thinking about Talmidei Chachamim and all the time disrespecting, that means that's what's in his heart. Klomar lifi ma shehu mehulal, the way he respect and disrespect. Gemara Masechet Makot Amru, Masechet Makot in page 22 says, Amru, kama tipishim me'otam anashim kayim mepnei Sefer Torah. Masechet Makot says, people are so stupid, they get up in front of Sefer Torah. Ve'inam kamim mepnei Talmidei Chachamim. But when a Talmidei Chachamim enters, they're not getting up. Okay? It's stupid, they say. Share Sefer Torah katuv 40 v'kenon lo yosif. Sefer Torah says 40 lashes a person is supposed to get, and mitzvah lo ta'aseh. Bo Chachamim patchu mekan echad. Chachamim came in, they did instead of 40, 39. Shem mechin la'adam alav ela 93 makot. If lo ta'aseh from the Torah person desecrated, 39 lashes. B'rizat Talmid Chacham b'od yesh Torah b'chtav. Especially Talmid Chacham, he has the Torah that is written. Gam Torah shebal peh, and also oral Torah. Shelo natna lichtav kamo she'amru Gitin. Masechet Gitin says, katav lecha et ha'advarim ha'ele. In the Shemot it says in 34:27, you should write these words. Ki kol al pi ha'advarim ha'ele ki ketz ha'advarim b'chtav et ha'rasha le'amra bal peh. Things that is written, you should not say it verbally. Dvarim bal peh et ha'rasha le'amra b'chtav. Things that's oral Torah, you're not allowed to write. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, lo karet kakadosh baruch hu brit in ames b'shvil dvarim bal peh. He says, Rabbi Yochanan says, Akadosh Baruch Hu did covenant only through the oral Torah. Shenemar al pi advarim ha'ele kararti otcha et brit v'et Israel. He says, according to these words, I made a covenant between Am Israel. Lefchach chova kol yehudi kom mipnei Talmid Chachamei Israel. Which one of us have to get up in front of Talmid Chacham? Hayushvim ba'oschim b'Torah yom v'layla. Talmidei Chachamim learning Torah day and night. We have to respect them according to whatever they're able, whatever the knowledge that they have. Help him in any way that we can. And a blessing is going to be for that person. To open up yeshivot, to support Talmidei Chachamim, to have nachat ruach le Talmidei Chachamim. Amen.